Hello, good evening, and welcome back. So, as we're seeing, schools are being set up in order to welcome pupils back, and there are concerns that, hey, the virus vaccine isn't gonna come out this year, and instead it's going to be into next year, and it's going to be something that's endemic, and we're going to have to live with, and therefore there's not really a lot we can do about it. If people are using cloth masks that are ineffective at best, and then detrimental at worst because they're being reused, and then they're damp is like using a damp tea towel around your face, that then it's going to cause more damage than it is going to help, especially when it comes to winter, and it's an utter shambles, and you shouldn't really bother doing anything like that whatsoever. As we're seeing all that come to pass, what's the governmental reaction? It isn't saying, sorry guys, we might have made a mistake, and actually you're right, we should lay off this and you can decide what you should do for yourself. No, of course it isn't. Their response is instead, as the BBC reports, illegal rave organisers face new £10,000 fines. Yeah. As if the government wasn't making enough money from this. As if they're not taxing us enough for fucking everything. That, yeah, you earn money, we're going to take a tax of that. You live somewhere, we're going to take a tax of that. You need to buy things to live, we're going to take some tax from that. You need to buy fuel in order to get around, in order to get a job, we're going to tax you for that. You need to communicate with people so that you can survive, we're going to tax you for that. And after all that, after all those taxes, after pretty much bleeding you dry, so you want to go out, you want to socialise and interact with people, we're going to fine you £10,000 for that. Now, that is down to the rave organisers, or the party organisers, or the community leaders, if you will, who are organising that. And yes, of course, it's a double-edged sword to say that, for one, it's horrific, utterly useless, won't help anyone at all whatsoever, especially if you're saying they're raves, in which case the people going to them are going to be the young adults who are not at risk of dying from coronavirus. And if you're going to say, well, it might help to crack down on people who don't care for British law because they're immigrants, well, I wouldn't bloody well count on it, because we've already had laws to prevent people from doing this. We've already had laws to prevent people from raping people. We've already had laws to prevent people from assaulting police. But they've done fuck all when it comes down to protected groups. So what is this actually going to do? Any guesses? Because at this point, it's just an obvious fact that the law is not applied equally. It is not one law for everybody. It is not that everybody is equal under the law. That is horseshit. That does not exist in the UK anymore. Not even close. It's one law for some and one law for others. And so when they're saying it's going to be a £10,000 charge for illegal raves, what we're going to see is initially that's going to be, oh, you're having a party and there are white people, you're going to get fined £10,000. And then it's going to be, oh, you're having a wedding or a funeral and you're white people, you're going to be fined £10,000. And then it's going to be, oh, you're a pub and you're mainly white people and you're all gathering, you're going to be fined £10,000. And then it's going to be, oh, there's a social group and we don't like your politics, you're going to be fined £10,000. It's pretty obvious where this all ends up, and it is all leading towards forced vaccinations. And I know you might be thinking, oh, there are conspiracies afoot. And please do continue that. Question me on that. Let's really push down into the narrative that forced vaccinations is just a conspiracy. But please do understand that when I say forced vaccinations, I do not mean that they're going to hold you down and jab a needle in your arm. No. What I mean is that they are going to restrict you from being able to do anything whatsoever until you have the vaccination. And good bloody luck living off grid. We've been trying to do that for decades in England, and it's been largely ineffective because they don't let you do that. So good luck. And that's just the state of play at the moment. So why is this come into place? Well, basically because people have decided that they don't wish to adhere to authoritarian rule. That's not the British way. And of course, we've seen the Pakistani Independence Day and then Afghanistan's Independence Day celebrations in Manchester and London and the main city centres around the UK that have, of course, a large migrant population from the Middle East within them, and the police obviously having no arrests whatsoever, despite the damage caused. And it seems to be on the back of that they're saying, okay, we're going to increase the fines. And I'm thinking, well, that's lovely. Brilliant. You're really pushing in a harsher law. But it doesn't matter whatsoever if you're not enforcing it. Just like you would have thought, and I hate to be flogging a dead horse here, but I think it's worth repeating, that the same goes for paedophilia, rape and grooming gangs. We have laws on the books in order to stop that, and for terrorism. But if these laws aren't enforced, then of course it doesn't make a blind bit of difference to the outcome, does it? If you're going to have Labour politicians compromising the police force so that they can't do their job in order to protect rapists and paedophiles because they're brown or Islamic, then who gives a shit what the laws on the books are? Because it clearly doesn't matter. It's down to the preferences of whichever bloody corrupt official is in charge of that jurisdiction. So, I don't really care about this £10,000 fine for illegal raves, because I know that isn't the law. It's just yet another thing that they will put on the law books, so that if they find somebody they don't like, there will be yet another useless law that they can find that they're in contravention of in order to then fine them or charge them or imprison them. And that is what it comes down to. That is why we have so many old, vague, archaic, ancient laws in England. Not because the politicians can't be bothered to clean them out and get rid of them, but because they're aware that by keeping these on the books, they might be stagnant for a few decades, but then they can bring them back up when they find somebody they don't like. Most noticeably, this is predominantly used through anti-blasphemy laws. The people are brought up on blasphemy laws, but it's pretty much because they're a political dissident. And therefore they just pin anything on them that they can in order to tell them to stop, while apparently adhering to being a civilized society. And that's what it comes down to in the end of it. So you might say, well, the police are being called out too much and we want to stop that. And yeah, quite possibly. But if the law isn't going to be applied equally in the first place, it doesn't bloody matter. At what point do you stop to think and say, we've got hundreds of thousands of laws. Do you think maybe we've got enough laws now? Do you think that's enough? Do you think maybe if we enforced every single law, we wouldn't have a problem? Or, let's take it one step further, do you think if we enforced every single law, everybody would be a criminal? Because I'm thinking that's how it's going to go. So, these laws, as I'm sure you're all aware, essentially come down to the 10 Commandments. Yes, 10 Commandments, not 10,000 commandments. That you really don't need that many laws, that many restrictions, prohibitions, inhibitions in order to say that you can't do a particular thing. They are not necessary. It's pretty straightforward, and at a certain point, how the hell is an individual citizen supposed to understand thousands or tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of different things that they're not allowed to do when it comes to the minutiae and understanding that that's not acceptable? Of course they're bloody not. So they're not made to make a safer society. They're made to be able to pick out anybody that they don't like and then charge them on some really vague and obscure charge in order to send a message. And that's how it works, while apparently still all being abiding by the law and not having any corruption whatsoever. And this is just another example of that. It is going to be unequally applied in order to target the people that they wish to target. Just as we've seen time and time again. And until that's rectified, the new laws they create do not matter in the slightest, because they're just going after particular groups and particular targets. So until they're applied equally, who really gives a shit? At this point, I think we've pretty much understood they don't care about the law and what the law says. They've just got their particular goals in mind of which groups they wish to protect and which ones they wish to imprison, and by any means necessary, they will get their outcome. And I'm sorry to end it on such a downer, but that's where we stand at the moment. And it's not as if voting would make much difference, because you'll either vote for the party who have introduced this, or you vote for the other one that wants to do even more. So, good luck to Patriotic Alternative, that's what I say. And as always, until next time, have a good one.